Okay, so I want you to picture this. The classic movie moment, right?
Hmm.
It's pouring rain. It's always pouring rain. And you've got this couple in the middle of the street just, completely soaked.
Or worse.
And they are screaming at each other. The veins are popping. The music is swelling up to this huge crescendo. And then, boom, one of them grabs the other and confesses this, like, undying, desperate love.
It's chaotic.
So chaotic and so incredibly high stakes.
And that's the climax of almost every romantic drama we've seen for decades.
Exactly. And we are kind of conditioned to think that that is the peak of romance, that intensity, that's what love is.
Yeah.
But today we're doing a deep dive into a text that argues that scene isn't just, not ideal. It might actually be the complete opposite of happy love.
We're looking at a really fascinating piece of writing today. It's less of a how-to guide,
Yeah.
for dating apps or whatever. It's more like a blueprint, an architectural schematic for how a genuinely healthy relationship feels,
Hmm.
how it functions on the inside. Specifically, under the hood of your nervous system.
And spoiler alert, the text is basically saying that if your relationship feels like a thriller movie, you're probably doing wrong.
Or at the very least, you aren't doing happy.
So, okay, let's unpack this. The source material is called The Architecture of Happy Love. And I mean, right out of the gate, it just picks a fight with our whole cultural obsession with the spark.
That lightning bolt feeling, yeah.
And the text makes this really sharp distinction between what it calls intensity that burns fast and continuity that holds.
And that is the core thesis right there, continuity that holds.
Okay, but I have to be the skeptic for a second here. Continuity sounds, well, it sounds incredibly unsexy.
I get that.
It sounds like infrastructure. It's not exactly what you write on a Valentine's Day card.
Well, it doesn't sound sexy because we've been trained to confuse anxiety with attraction. Let's look at the biology the source points to. When you feel that burning intensity, that can't eat, can't sleep, check your phone every 30 seconds thing, what's really happening in your body?
Butterflies, excitement.
Actually, it's usually cortisol and adrenaline. It's a stress response.
Ooh.
Your body is in a state of hyperarousal
Mm.
because it's detecting uncertainty. It's the fight or flight mechanism just kicking right in.
Yeah.
And the text argues that we mistake this biological panic for passion. We think, wow, I'm so anxious about them. I must really be in love.
So the butterflies are actually a warning system.
In many, many cases, yes. The source says this explicitly. Happy love does not require proving devotion through suffering.
Wow. That line stopped me in my tracks. Proving devotion through suffering. I feel like an entire generation of us was raised on this idea that love is a battlefield.
Hmm.
And if you aren't fighting for it, if it doesn't hurt just a little bit, is it even real?
Precisely. We equate the struggle with the value.
Mm.
But this text just flips that completely on its head. It suggests the goal of happy love is actually nervous system regulation.
Okay.
It says love should calm the system rather than overstimulating it. It should feel like home, not pursuit.
Home, not pursuit. That is a massive shift in mindset, isn't it? Pursuit is thrilling. It's the hunt. It gives you that dopamine hit.
Right.
But home is where you take your shoes off and just collapse on the couch.
And that is exactly the point. You can't live in pursuit mode forever.
Hmm.
Biologically, it's just not sustainable. It leads to burnout.
Yeah.
If your relationship is a constant source of adrenaline, you're never actually at rest.
Which brings us to a phrase in the text that, I'll be honest, I really struggled with. I wanted to argue with it.
Which one?
The text says happy love feels safe enough to be ordinary.
Ah. And why do you want to argue with that?
Because ordinary feels like an insult. We live in the era of the highlight reel. We want extraordinary. We want to be a power couple. If I tell my partner, hey, honey, I just love how ordinary we are, I'm pretty sure I'm sleeping on the couch. It sounds like settling.
I totally understand that reaction.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the text is asking us to reclaim that word, ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about what's required to be truly ordinary with someone.
Okay.
If you're on a first date or in that early intensity phase, are you being ordinary?
God, no. No, I'm the best version of myself. I'm witty. I'm listening super intently. I'm, sucking in my stomach. I'm performing.
Exactly. You're performing. And you cannot rest while you are performing. To be ordinary means you feel safe enough to finally drop the mask.
The text connects this right to honesty. It says happy love is strong enough to be honest, soft enough to rest.
So ordinary isn't about the love being mediocre. It's about the safety level being so high that you don't have to be a character anymore. Right. It's the freedom to be boring. It's the freedom to have a bad day, to be grumpy, to be quiet, and to know, really know, that the connection isn't threatened by that lack of performance.
Okay, I can buy that. If ordinary means no performance required, that actually sounds like a huge relief.
It is a relief. It's the only way to actually sustain a life together. And the text, it lists these shared rhythms that make up this kind of love. Waking, laughing, repairing, choosing again.
I want to zoom in on repairing.
Good one.
Because that list wasn't waking, laughing, and never fighting. It explicitly puts repairing right in there as a core rhythm.
And this is so crucial. A lot of people believe that happy love means the absence of conflict. You know, if we fight, the relationship must be failing. This source argues that conflict is inevitable. You're two different people.
Sure.
The difference between a chaotic relationship and a happy one isn't the fight, it's the repair.
But what does repair actually look like in this context? Because I've definitely had relationships where we repaired by just getting exhausted and then pretending it didn't happen 3 days later.
That's not repair. That's just burying the hatchet with the handle sticking out.
Right.
True repair, according to this nervous system model, it's all about co-regulation. It's coming back together not to win the argument, but to signal to the other person's body, I am still here, you are safe with me, we are okay.
So it's about reestablishing that safety we were just talking about.
Yes. In a high-drama relationship, a fight feels like a threat to the very existence of the bond. Like, if you disagree with me, maybe we break up.
Yeah.
In happy love, the text says there's a quiet agreement to return to one another without fear. The conflict happens, sure, but the foundation doesn't shake.
That lack of fear seems to be the metric for everything here.
It really is.
Yeah.
And this leads right into how the source redefines forever.
Ugh, the scary F word. Commitment. The text had a really interesting take here. It says, forever is not a promise about time. It is a promise about approach.
Which is such a more realistic way to look at a long-term partnership.
Well, it's practical, right? I can't actually promise you what I'm going to feel in 20 years. I mean, I don't even know I'm going to be in 20 years.
Exactly. Promising a timeline is basically predicting the future. But promising an approach, that's a behavior. That's something you can choose today and tomorrow and the next day.
Right.
And the text actually breaks this down into 4 pillars. It says the forever approach is to listen, to repair, to stay kind when things are hard, and to remain curious when things are familiar.
Let's spend a second on those, because stay kind when things are hard sounds like something on a throw pillow, but in practice, it's the hardest thing in the world. When I'm angry, kindness is the last tool I want to reach for.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to reach for sarcasm or, logic. That's the intensity response again. That's your defense mechanism kicking in. Choosing kindness when you are angry is a supreme act of nervous system regulation. It's overriding that instinct to attack and choosing to protect your partner instead. That is what builds the safety.
And what about that last one? Remain curious when things are familiar. That feels like the perfect antidote to that boring fear I had earlier.
It is. Think about any long-term relationship. After 10 years, you think you have the other person completely mapped out.
For sure. You know their stories, their coffee order, how they chew their food.
And you stop asking questions because you think you already know all the answers. You stop seeing them as a mystery and you start seeing them as, I don't know, furniture. They're just part of the house.
It's harsh, but it's accurate. Remaining curious means you acknowledge that this person is a living, changing system. They are not static. And if you stop being curious, the relationship just stagnates.
Yeah.
But if you keep asking, if you keep exploring who they're becoming today, that's how you keep a healthy spark alive in a continuity dynamic.
So you don't need the drama to keep it interesting. You just need curiosity.
Curiosity is active. Drama is reactive. That's the whole difference.
The text also touches on this paradox of space. It calls for individuality without distance and closeness without loss of self. This is the part that trips up so many people, especially if you have, say, an anxious attachment style.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you lean anxious, space feels like abandonment. If your partner goes quiet or wants to spend a Saturday alone, the internal story is, what did I do? Are they pulling away? Is it over?
The silence becomes a weapon, or at least it feels that way.
Right. But the text says happy love allows silence without threat.
So how do you get there? I mean, for a lot of high-achieving, intense people, silence is terrifying.
You get there by trusting the continuity. If you know the infrastructure is solid, you don't have to constantly check the foundation.
Yeah.
You can be in the same room, reading a book, while they work on their laptop and not say a word for 2 hours. In an anxious dynamic, that silence screams. In a secure dynamic, that silence is just resting. It's what some psychologists call parallel play. We are together,
Yeah.
but we are separate.
Space without abandonment. It sounds so simple, but it requires an incredible amount of trust.
And it links to the physical aspect, too. The text mentions touch without demand.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Because in romantic relationships, touch can get so loaded with expectation.
Very often, touch becomes transactional. If I hold your hand or rub your back, is it a prelude to sex? Is it a claim of ownership?
Right.
Touch without demand is non-transactional. It's holding hands just to co-regulate. It's a hug that isn't leading anywhere other than just connection.
It's basically saying, I acknowledge you, I am with you, without adding, and now you owe me something.
Exactly. And it deepens the bond because it removes all that pressure. The text says, love that lasts does not rush. It deepens. And modern dating is so often defined by the rush, the urgency. We treat intimacy like it's fast food. We want to feel full immediately.
We want the I love you by the third date. We want the label. We want to lock it down.
But you can't microwave a deep connection. This source suggests real nourishment takes time. It's a, slow cooker process.
I love that analogy. And it leads us to this idea of coherence over conflict. The text describes happy love as two systems choosing alignment.
This is my favorite part of the source material because it strips away all the fairy tale language and gets down to the mechanics of it. Two systems. We're just biological systems.
It makes us sound like a couple of laptops trying to sync up.
In a way, we are. We're constantly broadcasting emotional data. If I'm stressed, my heart rate goes up, my voice gets tight. If we're in alignment, you pick up on that. But instead of escalating with me in a happy love dynamic, you might offer a calm presence that brings me back down. That is choosing alignment.
It's dependable. The text uses that word dependable a lot.
And it distinguishes dependability from perfection. There's this beautiful line in there, not because it is perfect, but because it is cared for.
Because it is cared for. That implies work, but not the suffering kind of work we talked about at the beginning.
No, not the suffering of a battle. Think of it more like a garden. A garden isn't perfect. It has weeds, it has bugs, it has seasons where nothing blooms and it looks kind of dead.
Sure.
But if it is cared for, if you water it, if you tend to it, it survives and it flourishes. If you neglect it, or if you just stand there screaming at it to grow faster, it dies.
So the work of happy love isn't dramatic heroics. It's just weeding. It's watering. It's the boring stuff.
It is the boring stuff. It's the cup of coffee in the morning. It's the how was your day? It's the I'm sorry I snapped at you. That is the water.
It just brings us right back to that quiet agreement. The text calls happy love a quiet agreement to return to one another without fear.
That sums the whole thing up. If you're afraid of your partner's reaction, or you're afraid that one mistake is going to implode the entire relationship, you aren't in a place of safety. You're back in survival mode. You're back to that overstimulated nervous system.
So if we look at this whole picture, we're moving from this cinematic fantasy, the rain, the screaming, the grand gestures, to something that is regulated, safe, ordinary, dependable.
And I want to acknowledge that for you listening, especially if you're someone who's addicted to the high of that spark, that might sound like a letdown. Wait, where's the magic? Where's the sweeping orchestra?
Yeah, are we just resigning ourselves to being roommates who pay bills together?
No. The magic is in the safety. The magic is in having one place in the world where you do not have to perform. I mean, think about how exhausting the world is right now. We are always on. We are always optimized. To have one place where you can just exhale. That is the most romantic thing I can imagine.
It's the difference between a vacation and a home. Vacations are exciting, but you can't live on a roller coaster. Eventually, you just want to go home and sleep in your own bed.
Precisely. The text sums it all up as just two systems choosing alignment again and again.
So happy love isn't really an emotion in this framework. It's more of a physiological state of safety.
That's a brilliant way to put it. It's a state where your body doesn't have to defend itself anymore.
So as we wrap this up, what does this actually mean for us? For the person listening who might be swiping on an app right now, or maybe the person sitting next to their partner on the couch wondering if they've lost the spark.
I think it just asks you to evaluate your own definition of love. Be really honest with yourself. Are you chasing a feeling of thrill, which is often just anxiety in a tuxedo? Or are you building a place to rest?
That's the question. Are you looking for a plot twist, or are you looking for a sanctuary?
And it changes how you look at boring. If things feel calm, if there's no drama to report to your group chat, that's not a sign that something is wrong. That might be the ultimate sign that everything is finally right.
Safe enough to be ordinary. I think that phrase is going to stick with me. It's like a permission slip to just be human with someone else.
It really is. And it takes all the pressure off of forever. You don't have to promise to be perfect for 50 years. You just have to promise to be curious today.
Well, this has certainly changed my perspective on what romance actually looks like. It's less standing in the rain, more making sure the other person has water on their nightstand.
The highest form of romance.
Thanks for diving in with us.
Always a pleasure.
And for you listening, here's something to think about as you go about your day. The text ends with that idea of two systems choosing alignment. If love really is just two nervous systems interacting, maybe the most romantic thing you can do for your partner isn't to buy flowers or plan a surprise trip. Maybe the most romantic thing you can do is to simply regulate your own calm so that when they walk in the door, you can offer them a safe harbor.
Beautiful.
We'll see you in the next deep dive.